making moves,
What?
Moshe.
We are not learning Torah with the feeling on.
That's a great question because tefillin requires a lot of purity. The body has to be very clean. You have tefillin, you can't emit any gases, and there's a certain level of purity that's required when a person is wearing tefillin. And not losing focus that you have the tefillin. Tefillin requires a lot of kedusha. Therefore, it's hard for us to remain at that level, to be on top, to be in that level of focus and clean, to keep the body so clean. Therefore, we don't wear tefillin the whole day. Therefore, we only wear tefillin during prayers, and therefore that's why we're not wearing tefillin. Moshe wants to know, why don't we wear tefillin when we're learning? Because then you're accepting upon yourself to be in that level during that time period, and it's not easy. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I was in Longbranch, it was after the Filah, he's giving a shiur,
And
he
he had-
was keeping the
Yeah,
Filah.
so some people do keep tefillin on sometimes when they learn, but not everybody. It depends on the person. I think
It's a good look.
it looks very nice. It might look beautiful, but
Look more religious.
yeah, it's very holy.
Yeah.
Tefillin is very holy. It's a very holy person when you wear tefillin. It's a very holy thing. But you still, at the end of the day, you have to meet because of that, tefillin. Most mitzvot that a lady is not obligated in, right? We encourage. We say do it anyways. For instance, going to a sukkah, right? If a lady goes to a sukkah on the holiday sukkah, she's patur from the mitzvah sukkah. But she goes to the sukkah, she gets a mitzvah. The Gemara says she gets a mitzvah of be'enes mitzvah va'oseh. She gets a mitzvah of not being commanded, but doing a mitzvah. So she doesn't get the same level of reward as the man, because the man is obligated to it, but she's not obligated to it. She gets a mitzvah. In the Ashkenaz world, when a lady goes to the sukkah and she washes, what? She makes a bracha. The Sephardi world, they don't make a bracha. Lulav etrog. Lady is not obligated to take a lulav etrog, but yet it's a beautiful thing. A lady, let's take a lulav etrog. What? It's a very big custom. Many communities, they take a lulav etrog. Ashkenazim, they'll say a bracha. The Sephardim, they won't say a bracha.
But girls, let's say girls go to college, they will do kiddush because there are no men around.
Right.
With men around, they can make kiddush for the men too. If the man doesn't know.
No.
If the man doesn't know, meaning if it's not, meaning in general, we say the custom that the man makes the kiddush, because it's not modest that a lady in public will make kiddush. But technically, she has that obligation, and she could technically, like Mordechai said, let's say it's a situation if someone doesn't know how to say kiddush, and there's a lady there, so if it's in the privacy of one home, there's no issue of modesty.
I didn't know how to say kiddush. There is a book. You can read from the book.
Not everyone knows how to read Hebrew. But getting back to what the point, also on your point, we tell women not to put on tefillin. Why not? Let them put on the tefillin without a bracha.
Maybe.
So let's say even if she's not need that, we'll tell her not to put on tefillin. Why? Because since you need a clean body for tefillin, that's not the type of mitzvah that you should do when you're not obligated in.
What do you mean? Clean body. You need to take a shower.
No, the clean body means you can't emit gases. When you have the tefillin on, you can't emit any gases. You have to keep focused on the tefillin.
Cannot hold their first or second. They use diapers. They say they should definitely.
Okay. But I'm saying, but even people who don't have that issue, but you still, just to keep the body clean,
Good feeling. It's amazing that you already do it because you will see in the same when people are talking during the good feeling, using the phone to text, to reply emails well and wide. So at least they put, because some people even don't put it.
I understand, but even people have to also be careful if they have it filling on. The good point. If you have it filling on, if people are going to be responding to messages and text messages, if they can't lose focus, they got to fill in. Because tefillin, you're not allowed, you can't lose focus that you have it on. You can't have hesach hadat. You can't lose focus.
What if you are Well, it happens that someone is worried this and he didn't do 100% of his tefillah, but he's there to pray.
I understand, but okay, but you know, you have to. I mean, in the old days in the Gemara, the blacksmith, they wore the tefillin the whole day. Even when they were doing their work, they were wearing tefillin. But the point is, they always knew they had the tefillin on. They never lost focus. And you can't crack a joke when you have your tefillin on.
Okay.
Right? You want to crack a joke without your tefillin, you can crack a joke without your tefillin. But with your tefillin, you can't call it roast. There's a certain level. Good morning.
Morning.
Good to see you. Boker Tov.
Okay, so,
Oren, we got the name right?
yeah, got it right. You
Okay.
didn't forget me from 2 weeks ago.
See, I gotta make sure I don't forget. I miss you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay. We are on 53A. 53 in the article.
Next week, but I might need the people to say that this after the shiur.
Thursday?
No,
My
like,
Thursday's Shabbat.
He needs Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday, well.
no, I need Chedda.
Rechet B'Av is Wednesday. The Wednesday night is the ninth of is Tisha B'Av, the ninth of Av. So when you need Tuesday night is the Yortzeit. Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. 53A1. A2, I'm sorry. 53A2. What we just said, just to bring Oren up to date, the Gemara said that you could, a saddle there's a saddle and then there's a saddle cloth. The saddle cloth is what you put underneath the animal's saddle, but it's used also for warmth, to warm the animal. Since it's used to warm the animal, we say it's not a problem to go out on Shabbat with that saddle cloth that's on the animal. What?
Where?
To
Field?
Reshut HaRabim.
With the animal?
With the animal. It's not called, meaning it's not called, meaning if you're allowed to let your animal go out.
Oh,
You
let
should-
the animal go.
Let the animal
Okay.
go out, or you could even technically, you could take the animal out. As long as what, I mean, lead the animal out. As long as the animal, 53A2. As long as the animal, because the animal is not allowed to do malacha on Shabbat. You're not allowed to ride the animal, you're not riding the animal, but you're leading the animal out, you're calling to the animal, telling the animal, let's go.
Yeah.
Or whatever, you could go in and take the animal out for a walk on Shabbat from private to public, as long as it's not carrying a load, not carrying anything. Doesn't have to be a load, right?
Having the saddle is okay.
The saddle cloth is fine. The question is, what about a saddle? So the Gemara says, it brought up right that there's a machloket regarding a saddle, right? A saddle, because some say, one opinion says, since the saddle is used, also it does provide some warmth to the animal. So one opinion says that's considered like a garment. The other opinion says it's not enough. It's not enough. It's not doing. That's not the main focus. Maybe it's not doing such a big job. It only.
What's wrong with the garment?
What?
What's wrong with the
If it's a
garment?
garment, then it's good. But the question is it does the saddle have the status of a beged for warmth or not enough? Does it reach the bar? Did it reach that level? That was the machloket. Now, then we had the new case. The question was, we said on the Shabbat itself, you cannot put on a saddle cloth on the Shabbat itself, on the animal, but it has to be placed on before Shabbat. And that was stated, if you want to go out on Shabbat to public property with the animal, it has to have, the saddle cloth has to have been put on before Shabbat and tied on before Shabbat. That's what the Gemara said. Then the Gemara has a question, what about if you don't want to take it out into public property, you want to take it into the Chatzir, your Chatzir courtyard in front of the house? It's not a Reshut HaRabim. Would we say, is there a problem or not? Are you allowed to go ahead and take it out into the Chatzir?
And put it on Shabbat or still?
Right, put it on Shabbat, put the saddle cloth on Shabbat,
Yeah.
and walk into the Chatzir. Now, are we going to be afraid? Are we going to be concerned?
You can take it out.
You take it out to Reshut HaRabim or not? What would be the halachic status of that? That is the Gemara's. That was the Gemara's question. Okay. Okay, so that's a good question. You want the Erev Chatzeret in place or not? It sounds like the Erev Chatzeret is in place, it sounds like the Erev Chatzir is in place. Because if it's not in place, then most probably the concern will be. One second.
That's for the data.
Yeah, thank you very much. I've gone on the wrong thing. Yeah, this one. Yeah, thank you very much. So, yes, Erev Chatzir, let's say the Erev Chatzir is in place. Can I go ahead and take it out to the courtyard? So, what was his response? Right, the rabbi said it's mutar, you could do it. Right? And that's on at the bottom of 53A2, 53A1 is where he said it was mutar. And then the rabbi shot back at him. The rabbi who asked the question says, but what is this different than a ukaf? What is it different than the saddle? Then by asking the question, what is it different than the saddle? That means that the second rabbi said, the saddle you can't do, even to put it on and bring it out to the courtyard. So why shouldn't you why, if you can't do that, why are you allowed to go ahead and do the saddlecloth into the courtyard? But the rabbi number one, who said you could do it, did not respond to the question. Now, why didn't he respond? So the second rabbi thought that the first rabbi who didn't respond held that the saddle is also permitted, right? If I say you could do the saddlecloth into the courtyard, you question me, what rabbi? What about the saddle? Why is it different than the saddle? And I don't say anything. You know why I don't say anything? Because the saddle also, I hope the saddle also you could do. That's what the Gemara was thinking. So based on that thought, Eitive. That's what we got up to yesterday. We started saying the Eitive, the challenge to that point, is because Ukaf, the top of 53A2, first column, Ukaf shall gabechamar, lo yital biyado. If there's a saddle on top of the donkey, you can't handle the saddle. The saddle, it seems to be mukseh, ella, what do you got? Molicho, mavia b'chotzer. The animal, you let the animal go back and forth in the courtyard. If you want the saddle off the animal. Now, why do you want, let's say you want the saddle off the animal because you want, your animal is hot with the saddle.
It's Abalei Chaim.
Right, but it's not the level, but it's not a real level of Tsar Balei Chaim that maybe that the rabbis would say you'd be able to handle it. It's and also it's a good question. Would Tsar Balei Chaim permit you to do mukseh?
Well,
Mean if you're not
cow that is had a lot of milk, allowed to be, are you allowed to milk the cow, albeit spit it out into the
the question is the question of how the level of Tsar Balei Chaim. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if he has to have the ukaf all the entire Shabbat, might be.
Okay,
It's 4 hours, maybe not.
Okay, so we're going to see because as time goes, the animal feels the heat of the saddle because let's say the way Rashi it had a load on before Shabbat and it worked before Shabbat, so it feels the heat, it feels the sweat it up. But as time goes on, it's going to cool off. Even if you don't take off the saddle, it's not going
It happened to be hot day.
yeah, but it's not going to be a significant problem for the animal. The Gemara is going to say. We'll see. So the Gemara says, "Hashtelito lamet lo." If you tell me you can't go ahead and take off the saddle, you're telling me it's mukseh. So of course you can't put it on. If you can't take it off, you can't put it on. So and I think the fact that you were quiet when I asked the question seems that you hold the saddle is allowed. How can you? Okay, but meanwhile the Gemara is not saying there's no guy in the picture here. Good morning, doctor. So the Gemara says, so it seems that the saddle you can't do it. So if your saddle can't do it, so what's the difference between the saddle and the saddle cloth? That's what the Gemara shoots back. So Amalei Rav Zera. So Rav Zera responds, Shafke. Rav Zera says, don't leave Rav Chia Barashi. Don't. Your question is not a question. You know why? Karebi Sriulay. He holds like Rabbi. What does he hold? We'll see what he holds in a minute. He holds like Rabbi. What does Rabbi say? The Amar of Chia Barashi Amar Rav. Rabbi, good morning, Todd. Good to see you. We're discussing on Shabbat. I just want to remind everyone to say Birkat HaTorah. Last week with the Al Divrei Torah Varevna and Bracha Bana before the learning, right? He's learning. He holds like Rav. What does Rav say? Tolin Traska Lebehema B'Shabbat. You could go ahead and hang a basket by the mouth of the animal. You want the animal to make it easy. You want to eat. You want to make it easier to eat. Very user friendly. Instead of the animal bending down its head to the ground to eat the food, imagine you put the food right by its mouth. How do you have the food in the mouth? You tie your basket, put the food in the basket, and then the animal always has the food. It's like a baby bottle in the mouth of the baby, right? They tie something to pacify. You tie to the baby's. And they said the baby always has the pacifier nearby. So here they were very smart. They said, I want to have food for the animals. Make it easier. You don't have to bend down and up, make it easy for the animal. So you put the food in the. How do you like that, Dr. Wilson? And you put, like with the glasses, right? People have the string around it because the glasses are always there, right? So you don't have to go. They're always tied to the person. So they have this. Troskel that they hang on the mouth of the animal. People have to be careful on Shabbat. Sometimes people, instead of wearing their glasses, they hang the glasses down in a place where it's not no eruv. You can't walk out with glasses hanging down on the. But so you could hang it on Shabbat in private property, and so we see that if you could go ahead and hang that on Shabbat, that means you do that act. You busy yourself for the animal. Kal v'chomer l'mradat, and certainly you should be able to go ahead and you could go ahead and also put a mradat. You should be able to put the saddlecloth on. This is what Rav said. So what does Rav say? Rav said you could go ahead on Shabbat. You could go ahead and place a basket on the animal. And what's the purpose of placing the basket on the animal? You're placing the basket tied on the animal to make it easy for the animal to eat. You're helping the animal. Now that's a, you're getting busy for the animal on Shabbat and it's only something you're only making it easier for the animal, right? What are you doing when you now? What about it? Maybe the animal will go out on Shabbat into public property with this basket, that you tied in front of it. It's carrying. Good to see you, Jonathan. Wait, see you. We're talking about Jonathan and Todd. Your animal can't carry on Shabbat.
That is food carrying.
So that's carrying. If you put food on the animal's back, or if you put a basket in front of the animal, we're city people, so we don't know too much about this, everybody. But
no, there's a difference if you put food on the back.
The food on the back.
That's carrying.
That's
but if yourself all for the purpose of other animals. But before the thing, it's like you walking around the street with the ice pop.
Right. So you're not allowed. You can't walk around with ice pop on Shabbat, right, Todd? I can't go into a public property where there's no eruv with food on my mouth, walking with food in my mouth. What? I don't think so. I don't think you can go out with it. What? You know what you could? You know what? There was this department store called Sim's Department Store. Many of us knew about it. The new generation might not have known about it. Heard of Cy Sims, right? He was a big businessman, Cy Sims Business School, Yeshiva University. And he had every bag that came out of the store says an educated consumer is our best customer. That means to say it's a famous motto. If you look up you Google educated consumer as our best customer, like you see the Target bag, you see a Target. This is the educated consumer is our best customer. It said if you're educated about clothing, you will be our best customer. So Jonathan, just say that I'm of the opinion we got to ask, if you don't mind. I understand. I understand that people like, the joke that people say, but I don't think you can go out with it, if it's not, but now, see, there's when the Torah says you have to rest on Shabbat. Torah says your animal has to rest on Shabbat. And you can't have your animal going out with a load on Shabbat. But not only a load that can't go on Shabbat, anything that's not, if it needs to fit into two categories for you to be able to go on Shabbat. It has to be some sort of, if it's serving like clothing of the animal for warmth purposes, it's not called carrying. And also we said another thing is,
It's tight,
what?
it's tight on the animal.
We said if you have a rein on the animal to hold the animal shouldn't run away. That becomes like part of the animal. And we also said another thing we said is some common normal type of jewelry. That's if you decorate the animal, the normal way of decorating the animal, just like you could wear jewelry you could wear your necklace or a bracelet on Shabbat. The animal, it's not called carrying. Your animal could wear a necklace or a bracelet that's common. That's what? It's not avodah zarah. For a man or for an animal?
For that.
I don't.
Jewelry for animals, that's around.
No, it's not avodah zarah. He just because he's talking about the Egel Hazav. They made this golden calf. That's why he's thinking about. There's not a problem.
Putting fancy things on your car. Getting not to have cats in your car.
Right. Right. As long as it's the normal type of way to adorn the animal. I mean, if you do something, put something, you say, this is, today everybody calls everything art. You know what I'm saying? Not everything is called art. Not everything is called proper jewelry that's normal for the animal to go out with. So that's what so the Rav said that you could go out with a, with the animal if you hang the basket to the animal's neck, because you near the mouth of the animal, make it very user friendly so the animal doesn't have to bend down. You could do that on Shabbat, tie it, hang it to the animal on Shabbat. Not you can't make any permanent type of knot, obviously on Shabbat. You can hang it and put it around the thing, and certainly kavachom al a madat, which actually serves to bring warmth to the animal. You could go, which is a greater need for the animal. You could go ahead and place that saddle cloth on the animal on Shabbat, as long as you don't plan on going out into public property with it, as long as it's going to remain within the courtyard. Right. So the Gemara says, "Ma hatam," and the Gemara says, so and it's a kavachomer, meaning Rav said, trust you could do a basket. So the rabbi says if you could do a basket, so certainly you should put the saddle cloth. Why? Mahatam the mishum tainug. The basket is just a little bit making it for pleasurable purposes. The animal is not in any pain. You just want to make it easier, more enjoyable, and more enjoyable experience for the animal. It makes it more enjoyable for him to eat, that he doesn't have to bend down. We allow you to do that for the animal because there is an issue on Shabbat. But you know what? You can't busy yourself on Shabbat and for things that are not necessary. You can't occupy yourself. We're going to see to do certain types of tircha. Busy yourself on Shabbat where it's not necessary. We don't want you to do that. Shabbat is not a day that you should be just busying yourself with things that are just not necessary. Even if it's not an act of labor, even if it's not an act of work, it's like tircha shalol tzarech. So, but we say the fact that you're making it easier for your animal that it doesn't have to bend its head down in order to eat all the time it warrants you gives you the allowance to hang that basket on its neck. So, if it's a question of preventing pain for the animal, meaning it's cold outside. We said yesterday, the donkeys are even cold in the summertime. All right? You got that? The donkeys are cold in the summertime. So therefore you are preventing actual pain. So therefore it's allowed. Lo kol shekain. So, and therefore, the allowance that Rav Chia Bar Ashi says you could put the mardat, the saddlecloth on the animal on the Shabbat, as long as it's not going into public property, is based on Rav. And so the fact that you might have a question, you mean you showed me you can't put the saddle on Shabbat. Okay, but that's not a question on me. But saddlecloth and saddle are two different stories.
Saddle's already on, then you can put the saddle.
Right,
As long as the saddle's already was on before Shabbat.
Right. I'm saying the saddlecloth. Even if the saddle is not on, you can also put the. I mean, the saddlecloth. The saddlecloth is one of the things that you put on the animal that it served the purpose of warmth of the animal, and also served if you subsequently put the saddle on the animal, it will protect the body of the animal from the strength of the saddle, or if the saddle will subsequently have a load on it, it protects the animal.
But you couldn't let your animal leave your property.
Right, but you can't let your animal leave the property on Shabbat if you put the saddle cloth on the animal on the Shabbat. Because one reason is, Tosfos says, it might look like, you're setting up your animal to go for a long distance on Shabbat, travel outside the boundary on Shabbat. So that's what the Gemara wants to say. That is Rav's opinion. Okay, Todd, Jonathan, you with me? We're in the saddlecloth territory. We're in animal territory. We're in the courtyard. We're in baskets. We're dealing with different issues of what we could do with the animals that on Shabbat. How busy we could be with the animals on the Shabbat. We can't ride an animal on Shabbat. You can't use the certain things you can't do with the animal on Shabbat, but to put the saddlecloth on, we can, to keep the animal warm. Even though we could put it on before Shabbat, even on Shabbat, as long as it's not going out into public property. Shmuel Omar, and if we put it on before Shabbat, it could go out to public property. Shmuel Omar, Shmuel makes a difference between a saddlecloth and the basket. The saddlecloth, he says, is a real need, right? You could say a saddlecloth, it warms the animal. It's amazing how the halacha, the sensitivity of halacha, is so sensitive to difference between. Look at the difference. He holds the saddlecloth is for warmth purposes. That you could get busy with on Shabbat for the animal.
Because it's for the needs of the animal.
Needs of the animal. The animal is not so comfortable when it doesn't when it's cold. Like anybody who's not comfortable when it's cold. But the basket, to make it easier for the animal, that it shouldn't have to bend down to eat. You put the basket like a baby bottle in its mouth, and you tie it to its neck. That is something that's not such a real need that we should allow you to get busy on the Shabbat. How do you like that? And therefore we say you shouldn't be doing that on the Shabbat. And will traskil also. And the traskil will be forbidden. You can't go ahead. That's the opinion of Shmuel. Now, also Rav Chia by Yosef. Rav Chia by Yosef, he went and Amr l'shmaite de Rav kamei de Shmuel. He told Shmuel, you know what? Rav says you're allowed to even busy yourself to put on the basket on the animal on Shabbat by its mouth to make it easier if it doesn't have to bend down. Omalei, so Shmuel says, Ihochi Oma Abba, if Abba said this, if my friend Abba, now Abba is like a title. He said this, Abba is a language of friendship.
Father, you mean?
What did you say?
Father, dad?
Father, but it's like dad, but it's a language of respect. That's how some places Rashi says, like, you refer to with respect. You call Abba. Abba is dad, right? So dad is a language of respect. But it's an amazing thing. According to that pshat, he's talking about his colleague. Some say Abba means Abba Lashon Chaver, like a language of a friend. I think when Rabin got assassinated, right? What did President Clinton say? Shalom Chaver. It's a very famous thing. He says Shalom Chaver, right? My friend. He called him Chaver. But he says over here that Abba either means Chaver, my friend, or Abba is a language of respect. So let's say according to the pshat is he's referring, if my Abba said this, lo yada mila Shabbat lo klum. He's not an expert in the laws of Shabbat. He's not, because to say this ruling. This is what Shmuel is saying. Shmuel is saying, it's like saying my colleague, my distinguished colleague, Abba, is making a mistake. That's really, he's criticizing at the same time, he's respecting and criticizing at the same time. Maybe that's a lesson in life. You know what I mean? Sometimes when if you want to say something that someone's not doing something right, and you're talking to them, first give them first compliment them. Now, the question is, why, now you can't tell somebody about somebody else that they're not knowledgeable. I can't tell you that someone else is not knowledgeable in the laws of Shabbat. That's Lashon Hara, right? So how is Shmuel telling this? How is Shmuel telling this here by Yosef that, you know what, my colleague is not knowledgeable in the laws of Shabbat? It means to say, he wants to say, listen, you can't. He's not here to say negative about the rabbi, because everybody knows the rabbi is a big rabbi. Everyone knows the other. He just means, it's a way of saying, don't follow his opinion. I think that's what he's saying. And I think that's how you can understand it. Because to take it literally, my colleague doesn't know the laws of Shabbat. My colleague, he actually, my colleague, Shabbat. He doesn't know the laws of Shabbat. He knows nothing about Shabbat. My colleague, is that true? He doesn't, Rav doesn't know anything about Shabbat. Rav is Rav. That's, it's like you have Shammai and Hillel. It's Rav and Shmuel. These are like, they were at it. These two rabbis were at it, like Abaye and Rava. There's certain rabbis in the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan and Lakish. There's certain rabbis that were, Chavrutas, argues different, but everyone respected each other. Everyone recognized each one is an unbelievable. I think that's what he wanted to make a point to say that my colleague is really wrong on this one. You know what I mean? That's what he really wants to say. But interesting fact is, look at even though Shmuel said that about Rav, the general rule is the following. When it came to financial matters, Shmuel was more of the expert. He had a better handle on the laws of financial laws, Torah laws, Dinei Mamonot, and the law generally follows Shmuel when it's a financial issue. When they have a dispute in the Gemara between Shmuel and Rav on a financial issue, halacha, Shmuel usually gets it. But when it comes to non-finance, Rav was like Shabbat, Rav was the man that we generally follow. And yet Shmuel said about Rav, he doesn't really know about the laws of Shabbat. So you can just imagine, obviously it doesn't mean, you like that? Oh, you see, you heard something, right? So obviously he didn't mean it that way. Sometimes people say something, they don't mean what they say. They're only saying it because they want to make a point. I think that's what, thank you very much. Yes, thank you. You too. And that's all could explain in general, sometimes if you find rabbis in the Gemara make a statement which seems a little strong, you have to understand it's not meant to be, because the Chafetz Chaim discusses it. How could you say negative about a fellow person? Okay. Kisolik Reb Zera. Reb Zera went from Bavel to Eretz. Eretz is Gavoa Mikol Aratzot. It's higher than all the lands. When you're going up, where you going up? Going up to the holy. When he went to the Holy Land, Ashkechei, and maybe Hashem made it that way, that Israel is higher than all the lands, because you have to realize, that's it's physically higher and it's spiritually higher, and maybe that's why Hashem positioned Israel in that place in the world. Ashkechei Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefet, the Yati v'kama mishmei the Rabbi Yochanan. He met that when he went to the land of Israel, he met Rabbi Binyamin bar Yefet. And Rabbi Yefet was quoting the name Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan, by the way, was like the chief rabbi of Israel. Like you have chief rabbis, and in New York had one chief rabbi. I don't know if you know about the history of New York with chief rabbis. In the Lower East Side, he had a shul, Rabbi Jacob Joseph. He was the chief rabbi of New York, the one and only first and last chief rabbi of the state of New York. He had a lot of trouble. They gave him a lot of trouble. A lot of the non-religious people in the meat industry, he tried to bring kashrut under control in America. As you know, there was millions of Jews came to America in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and he tried to put things into place, help a lot of areas, and he got a lot of pushback from what he was doing. And he died young, very tragic. Say it again? I think a lot of not religious Jews didn't want him to get, to get involved in kashrut because a lot of the kashrut was run by non-religious Jews. But I presume there was non-Jews that also were part of the giving him a lot of trouble. And I don't remember the exact, but he was getting a lot of having a lot of difficult time in life. And but he was the chief rabbi in New York. So in Eretz Israel, Rabbi Yochanan was the big man. He was like the leading rabbi in Israel, and when he comes back from Israel, some people go to Israel, they bring back certain souvenirs. Oh, I got this, I got that. These rabbis, the souvenirs they came back from Israel was they heard some Torah in Israel. This may be a lesson for all of us. When we go to Israel, let's go ahead and, when I would go to Israel years ago, I would say, I got to go to Rabbi Yosef, I want to hear him speak. That was my souvenir to come back. And I would encourage everybody, you're in Israel, go to hear Rabbi Yosef speak. You know that you should hear him speak. I think the same thing today. You go to Israel, take advantage. Hear Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef speak. There's some great people great scholars in Israel. Take advantage of that. I want to wish everyone, thank you all for joining. Have a beautiful Shabbat, and we'll be back on Monday. All the best, everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Minyan upstairs?
Minyan upstairs, yes.
I think here the Minyan at 8 will not be a lot of people on Friday.
Friday is, I think, a little quieter here. There'll still be an 8 o'clock Minyan, but it might be a little quieter.
Last time was not.
You didn't have?
At the end, but it was tight.
I hear, okay. So you might want to join upstairs. Todd, thank you so much for being here.
Great.
You heard some stuff.
So-
I added some stuff in your honor. What can I tell you? Okay. Have a great day, Asaf. Have a great see you soon.